आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
Welcome back, friends. After Aishwarya dealing with domestic issues, I, Abhishek Kapoor, and Niranjan with me are back filling in for Arnab Goswami. He's, of course, back tomorrow. And we focus our attention on an issue on which everyone in the country is focused on. Everyone is concerned about at the same time. Everyone in India is confident that we will deal with it on our own terms. That's the Trump tariff tantrum. Since been just 24 hours, the frustrations of the US administration, of the Trump team, and I must say, the Trump attack dogs is really becoming clear. Peter Navarro, he has been calling names. We have Scott Bessent expressing in the most untruthful words issues about India's trade with Russia and India's trade war with the United States in a manner which is unbecoming of statesmen, of world leaders. And that's really the issue we are focusing on. What has happened over the last 24 hours since the Trump tariffs unraveled, how India has responded, and how we are taking it on. Niranjan.
I think, Abhishek, this evening, what we will look at in the next 1 hour is how America is rattled tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching the debate and if you're listening into all the comments that have been coming in, mostly from the Trump administration, I'm not saying from America. If you've been listening into the comments from the Trump administration, and not all of them, some of them, as Abhishek mentioned, have been, for example, today calling it Modi's war. It doesn't make any sense. Ukraine is not Modi's war. Ukraine is a war that America wanted, America started. And across the world, and even in America today, the Democrats are calling out Donald Trump. We're looking at that subject in great detail, exactly 48 to 72 hours before our Prime Minister lands in China. The fact that we haven't responded to Donald Trump, the fact that we are going ahead with that meeting in China is what irritates Donald Trump, the bully. Here's the story so far.
24 hours since the US trade tariffs on India went into place,
We've made a lot of progress, and as you know, we put a 50% tariff on India on oil. They're the second largest. They're very close to China in terms of the purchase of oil from Russia.
and the cult of Trump has gone haywire over India's resolute response.
भारत अपने किसानों के, पशुपालकों के और मछुआरे भाई बहनों के हितों के साथ कभी भी समझौता नहीं करेगा.
The gloves are now coming off, and the lackeys are lining up to push line for their commander-in-chief.
Now think about India when you think about the tariffs we're putting in place. 25% because they cheat us on trade, 25% because of the Russian oil. India doesn't appear to want to recognize its role in the bloodshed. It simply doesn't. It's cozying up to Xi Jinping.
Leading the charge to cozy up with the man in the Oval Office is White House trade advisor Peter Navarro. In his latest rant against India, Navarro was introduced to the concept of sovereignty, which he misunderstood as arrogance. According to Navarro, India was arrogant for buying Russian oil for its own sovereignty. After preaching India on being a strategic partner, he took on the burden to teach India about being a democracy this time, and begged us to side with democracies and not authoritarians. This comes from the man who calls Donald Trump his boss, who said this about the terrorist-turned-president of Syria.
Right. I think very good. Young, attractive guy, tough guy.
But that's not all. In his sycophancy, Navarro went on to blame India's tariffs for higher wages in the United States and said that US taxpayers are losing money because of Modi's war. Not Russia's war, not Ukraine's war, but Modi's war. Further losing the plot, Navarro said the road to peace runs through New Delhi.
They have higher tariffs, they're Maharaja tariffs, higher non-tariff barriers. We run a massive trade deficit with them, so that hurts American workers, hurts American businesses. Then they use the money that they get from us when they sell us stuff to buy Russian oil, which then is processed by refiners and they make a bunch of money there. But then the Russians use the money to build more arms just to deal with the propaganda of the Indian government to make people want to feel sorry for them. Oh, they need the oil. They don't need the oil. It's a refining profiteering scheme. It's a laundromat for the Kremlin.
And it's not just Navarro who is going rogue. The entire MAGA administration is throwing their hat in the ring. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent went on a rant in US media on why European partners are not using similar tariffs to threaten India. Although in doing so, he did admit that Europe was one of the biggest beneficiaries of India's refined Russian oil. On one hand, Bessent says that Prime Minister Modi and President Trump have a very good relationship and that they will eventually come together. But on the other, US Commerce Secretary leading the negotiations attacks the H-1B visa system, of which India is a leading beneficiary. It was only after the remarks of US Director of National Economic Council Kevin Hassett that it became clear that this was never about Russian oil.
The Indian intransigence about opening their markets to our products. And so I think that when you're looking at trade negotiations, one thing I think we've all learned is that you need to keep your eyes on the horizon and recognize that there are going to be ebbs and flows in things before we reach the final position. And if the Indians don't budge, I don't think President Trump will either.
According to Hassett, Indians are intransigent to open up their markets for US products, further adding that if India doesn't budge, so won't Trump. This did not stop Peter Navarro from doubling down on his desperate pitch. He even went on to say that if India stops buying Russian oil, Trump would cut the 25% tariff tomorrow. Amidst this, good news continued to pour in for India. As per latest economic reports, India is expected to become a $20.7 trillion economy by the year 2030 in purchasing power terms. If all things go right, India may even become the second largest economy in purchasing power parity terms by the year 2038, reaching a staggering $34.2 trillion mark, surpassing even the United States to take the second spot on the podium. So let the battle begin. It's US words versus India's action. While India stares back, US desperations is only growing, it seems.
Joining us on the debate this evening on Trump's tariff as it gets more and more bizarre, we have Ambassador Deepak Vora. He's a former diplomat. Hi, Ambassador. Good to see you. Good to have you with us. Aina Tangin will be joining us, a China expert. We will have Maxim Kuznetsov from Moscow. He's not live yet. I have Greg Swenson, who's live with us. He's live from London. He's a media commentator on geopolitics, economics. I have Alexander Shazan, who will be joining us soon, along with Michael Kugelman. I have Anand Ahuja, though, who's joined us already. He's a Republican, co-founder Indian Americans for Trump, joining us live from New York. Okay, let me start with you, Deepak Vora. There is this person, this man called Navarro, okay? This Navarro likes to just,
Rant,
right? I was going to say something much worse, but okay, let's stop at rant, okay? Now, this guy goes on, he calls it Modi's war. I was shocked that he called it Modi's war. Ambassador Vora, this question is for you. Now, here's something that we have at hand. The US has spent about roughly $131 billion on Ukraine's war. They egged on Ukraine to start the war. They wanted Ukraine to bomb Russia. They wanted Ukraine to go to war. We all know that. Now, they're the ones who have given Patriot missile batteries, NASAM systems, over 3,000 missiles, 200 plus 155 millimeter howitzers, 3 million rounds, 40 plus HIMARS, 10,000 javelins, 10,000 Tau missiles, 31 Abrams tanks, 300 Bradley fighting vehicles, 1,300 armored personnel carriers, 5,000 Humvees, 20 Mi-17 choppers. They want jets to go. And this man called Navarro says it's Modi's war. What is he smoking, Ambassador Vora?
Malana Cream.
Well, thank you very much.
Right?
Always a pleasure to be with you on your channel and to have so many other distinguished people. I've just returned a little while ago from the most beautiful part of the world called Leh in Ladakh, where I was privileged to sit with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And by the way, the people around him, some of the senior monks, are very interested in what's going on between India and the United States. Now, as far as Mr. Bizarro is, not Bizarro, what is the fellow's name?
Navarro.
That's right. So as far as Mr. Navarro, whatever his name is, so which prime minister, which leader of a government actually went both to Moscow and to Kiev to ask their leaders, now shut up and stop fighting, saying this is not an era of war, this is an era of peace. Do you recall? I think the person who went there and spoke to both of them was a person called Narendra Bhai Damodar Das Modi. Mr. Navarro has obviously never, Mr. Bizarro has obviously never heard of him. So we were the ones, the only country, which said, guys, stop fighting, start talking. And then he says that it's Modi's war. Well, thank you very much. If it is, and the road for peace passes through New Delhi, I'll be jumping up and down. I'll be doing the triangle dance. I mean, then I control the world. Thank you very much, Mr. Navarro. He's not just smoking something, he's drinking and eating and doing all kinds of things. He's given me a massive compliment that I thought Trump was going to stop the war in 24 hours. Now I can do it. Thank you very much. So, sir, we all know that this is arrant nonsense. But at the same time, I don't think they have the courage to tell the president, we call this the echo chamber, that, Mr. President, what you're doing is harming America's interest. I don't think anybody is telling him. Nor will he listen, even if they did, because they had earlier agreed to a trade deal with India, then they cancelled it and so on. So my own feeling, sir, is this is only the beginning. The party is just starting. They're going to try and get tough. They're going to see if we will bend. One is Trump's personal thing that Prime Minister Modi didn't come to Washington when I invited him, when we were all returning from Canada. The other thing is he hasn't called me like all the other big fellows have come to me on bent knees and said, Uncle Donald, please forgive us. You know, there's a personal element. And then, of course, he knows that India is big. And if Russia, India and China, politically, we don't trust the Chinese, neither do the Russians. They come together economically, we have major power block. Now, sir, I'll conclude simply by saying that people tell me that the Americans, the present administration, have double standards. No, I don't think so. They have triple standards. One for the poor Europeans who succumb to everything that Donald Trump says. They may deny it. The second is for the rest of the world. And the third is for the Americans themselves who are being had. That's an American expression. They're being told that he's going to make America great again. He's probably going to make America alone again. But he won't listen, sir. So we're in for some interesting times. And I, as a diplomat, will be watching very carefully. My visa to the US, I don't know what they'll do to it. But certainly looking forward to visiting my grandkids later in the year. Nevertheless, I rest my case.
Yeah, Ambassador, Trump is anyway there for another 3 years. 3.5 years, he would anyway become lame duck by 2.5 years, but we don't know. Greg Swenson with us now, media commentator, geopolitics and economics. Greg, just some basic economics before I give you the floor. The charge against India is that we are making money, and we are financing the war of President Putin by giving him the money. Now look at the numbers. In 2023, India exported petroleum products worth $97 billion. In 2024, the figure came down to $85 billion. So the amount of money and majority of the exports of petroleum products from India are to Africa, African countries. Greg, please tell us, the math does not add up. The geopolitics does not add up. Can you see, or can't you see, the kind of very motivated, dishonest campaign that the Trump administration has launched against India?
Well, I don't agree that it's dishonest. I think the numbers don't lie. And you brought up, there's a couple of things you can look at, one of which the Treasury Secretary mentioned yesterday, that it's one thing for China to go from importing 13% of their oil from Russia, and they've increased that slightly to 16%, whereas India's gone from 1% to 42% of their supply. So I think that's, it's the delta, it's the change that's probably annoying to President Trump and others in the administration. So, there's other places to buy oil, that's for sure. The U.S. is the biggest oil producer in the world, or energy producer overall in the world. So, we would like to be trading more with our allies, not less. There is a restructuring of the trade system. There's no doubt about that. And one of the things that I think both of you have pointed out is that, this administration is not afraid to use trade and economics as a way to get to peace, to geopolitical outcomes that are preferable. And I look at, the president partly with threats of tariffs or at least discussing economic interests has brought, 5 or 6 armed conflicts to a pause or an end in the 7 short months that he's been in office. So, I think we'll see more of this, but it also wouldn't surprise me if we see a very good outcome here, ultimately, with a trade deal between the U.S. and India.
Well, Greg, you're missing a couple of points here. I should, underscore those. Number one, the increase in Indian purchase of Russian oil happened with American nod, the proof of which we have seen, for example, in the comments made by earlier ambassador of the United States here, unless you believe that the United States government is not a continuity. Also, whatever oil purchases have happened within the framework of international law. And in that backdrop, for the kind of intemperate language, the kind of uneducated comments that are coming in, including calling the Russia-Ukraine war Modi's war, Greg, somewhere a red line has been crossed.
Okay, I wouldn't call it a red line. I mean, look, Peter Navarro is provocative. So is President Trump. They're unconventional in the way they talk. It's quite refreshing, actually, because it's the most candid and transparent administration.
Are you sure this is candid and transparent? This is not kind of throwing a wrecking ball at the larger India-United States relationship?
Let's go back to your first comment, and I think, now I can't recall what it was with all the noise, but I do think that the president is not afraid, again, to use leverage, and I think he'll ultimately get the outcome that's good for America, but also good for India. So I know there's going to be some bumps in the road.
I don't know whether it's good for the United States, because in throwing the leverage at India, isn't the United States actually losing its leverage with China?
Yeah, that's a good point, because we're negotiating actively with China right now. They are, like it or not, a huge trading partner of the U.S. So I think, sorry, I missed your first question or your first point in this little outburst.
No, there's no outburst, Greg. There is no outburst. It's you are saying you are saying that what Trump and his team does is innovative and transparent. So we are being innovative here in our debate and adding that kind of chutzpah there in whatever we are having a conversation on. So the point, Greg, is the point, Greg, I'm making is, and to which you did not respond to, is that haven't the Americans in taking the kind of hectoring tone they have taken vis-a-vis India, losing their leverage with China?
No, I think they're negotiating with China right now. I think ultimately we're going to fix the imbalances that we've had with China. We've had slight imbalances with India. It's not quite as extreme, but I think that the massive trade deficit we've had with China is unsustainable. And there's other factors related to that Peter Navarro mentioned. Again, he's no longer in the inner circle of the president's cabinet, but but he is still an influence. But I do think that I thought the Secretary of the Treasury brought out, made some really intelligent comments yesterday. You might not agree with them, but I think that this is the path, and I think ultimately we will see a deal with India.
Okay, so a couple of, if you heard Greg carefully, Abhishek, three things that he said. Greg, it's not an outburst, first of all. It's just that we're loving this debate, right? And we love to tear into some of the arguments being made. For example, you said you love how America is using its strength for trade outcomes. Essentially, you just justified whom we typically call a bully. Now, that's what America is doing. Trump is being a bully, right? Now, point number one. Now, the second point he said, Abhishek, he said it went from 1 to 46%, which Trump is not happy about. He also somewhere mentioned that America is the largest, supplier of oil. So somewhere he gave away the real story. America perhaps wants us to buy oil from them.
Which we don't mind. Greg, really, we don't mind buying
Give us the discounts. Give us the discounts, right?
Give us the discounts because we also believe in good trade. Okay. Also, shifting about 2 million barrels per day of trade from Russia to the United States takes some time.
Yeah.
And for Trump and his team to be hectoring like it has to be done yesterday is absolutely bad understanding of how things work on the ground.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's a conversation to be had. There could be a path to separating the dependency on Russian oil and shifting that over time. That's a good conversation to be had with the trading advisors for both.
But are we going to have
US
a conversation via Fox News, via the press pool of the White House, or the conversation has to happen with the trade negotiators sitting across the table? Because remember, the Americans were supposed to come, the trade team was supposed to come to India on August 25. It was postponed. So obviously, I don't understand what kind of conversation can be had with those, the press pool of White House or the manner in which every day we are getting to hear those hectoring comments coming in, be it from Scott Bessent or Peter Navarro or Howard Lutnick.
Look, the other point you brought up, which I forgot, I wasn't taking notes, was about the U.S. telling India to buy Russian oil, and that is in fact true. And this is the challenge with democracy. We've had a change in administration. Biden was very hostile to the U.S. energy sector and reduced the productivity and the output from the U.S. That elevated oil prices. Gasoline prices in America shot up. It was a real political disaster for Biden. So he went around the world he begged Putin to pump more oil. This is before the invasion. But in 2021, he begged Putin. He went and tried to beg MBS in Saudi to pump more oil and sell more oil. So yeah, guilty as charged. America is inconsistent in the sense that we've had two different administrations in the last 9 years. So that was unfortunate. That Biden was encouraging India to buy oil from Russia.
Yeah, but
was a big mistake. But he was politically trying to bring energy prices down so he wouldn't get creamed in the midterms in 2022.
Yeah, but the thing is, why should India suffer? Right? And the third point that when I was about to mention that you very passionately came in to question Greg there. Let me point out the third point. Greg's had a unfairly he's had an unfairly large advantage given in the debate. He's intervened 3 or 4 times. But and the third point you made, Greg, and my question now is to Maxim Kuznetsov, who's joining us live from Moscow. Greg said numbers don't lie, Abhishek, right? Fantastic. Of course, numbers don't lie. And let me give you a number that doesn't lie. And Maxim, it's interesting. And this is from the US website called USITC, right? Now, the USITC points out that US imports from Russia has jumped 23% this year between January and May. 23%. So Donald Trump, for all the lecturing that he's doing with India, his country, his administration has increased trade with Russia 23%. And lo and behold, what have they imported? Fertilizers, uranium, palladium, and this data is available readily on the website. And you know what Putin did very smartly, Abhishek? When he was in Alaska on stage with Donald Trump, he said, I'm very happy to announce that our bilateral trade has gone up 20%. Who are you lecturing to, Maxim? They're doing business with Russia, right? And there were energy deals being discussed on the sidelines of that summit in Alaska. US is already discussing these energy deals while lecturing the entire world. What's the Russian take on this?
So, in my point of view, India was a key ally of United States in Indo-Pacific region, but this kind of measures like as blackmailing from US to India is unacceptable, because India is a rising star of world's economy, and in next 20, 30 years, India will have the same share in world GDP as China now. And it is unacceptable to blackmail in India due to trade with Russia, because US also has trade deal with Russia, and it is unacceptable. So US makes India closely to China, and it is also unpredictable for this administration. We don't know why Donald Trump has this decisions, but it is very strange for me.
Right.
I
Because in long run,
mean, you are being polite to your new friend Trump, I believe.
I have breaking news coming in.
You're being polite to your new friend Trump, Maxim, because the fact of the matter is, it's not strange. It's absolute double standards. I mean, if the Americans believe that they can get away with name calling, let's get into it. Bring it on. It's double standards of the worst kind that global diplomacy is seeing of late. And it's not just about India.
Russia,
and look at what's happening in Europe. Every European leader is so uncomfortable dealing with this American administration.
Yeah, should we show that picture? Actually, you know what, Maxim, I want you to speak over this picture. Do we have that picture of all the European leaders being schooled by Donald Trump, extremely irritated? Can I show that picture, please? I think that tells you the entire story. What really irritates them, Abhishek, what really irritates perhaps Donald Trump is the fact that while they are on a rant calling names, right? You spoke about the name calling, India hasn't responded. And that is perhaps what is irritating
That's because of the dignity of the Prime Minister of India. I mean, he's been absolutely dignified, statesmanly, and measured in his response. He is only saying, I am taking care of my farmers, I am taking care of my poor.
Yeah.
And apart from that, no retaliatory measures. No comments whatsoever from the Commerce Minister, Finance Minister, or the team of Prime Minister Modi.
And I have some
absolutely decent response to whatever we are being thrown at from Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I have some more breaking news coming in, especially for our friends from America, to Greg Swenson and Anand Ahuja. Fantastic news coming in. I'm going to give this news to you, and you should listen to this very carefully. As of this minute, I'm getting in breaking news that India's Russian oil imports is set to rise in September. I'll repeat that. Reuters reporting that India's Russian oil imports is going to rise in September in defense of America. You can call us names, ain't going to change nothing. My question now is to Anand Ahuja.
Frustration.
Yeah, they're frustrated. They're completely frustrated. I'll tell you why. And Anand Ahuja, I want to ask you this question before I go across to Tangen, right? Aina Tangen from China. There is a view in India. You know, every time Prime Minister Modi came to America, right? The Republicans, like, they rolled out the red carpet. I remember, Abhishek, you've been to America, covered a couple of bilateral visits. When I was there for the Howdy Modi visit, we went all out for the Americans. And then we did. I mean, we called him a great friend and you know, did what we could possibly for Donald Trump. And in all of this, the Indian diaspora often speaks, they want to be the bridge between India and America. And what is now being pointed out, and Ambassador Vora may agree or may not agree, you can come in later, but my question is to Anand Ahuja, where is the diaspora? Where are those Indian American leaders? Have you heard them? I haven't heard any of you speaking through all of this to build bridges, right? Mr. Ahuja, can you please tell me a campaign, anything that's happening from your end?
So first of all, for your kind information,
yes,
don't underestimate Indian diaspora in United States. We are doing at our level whatever we can do. We may not be that vocal and in the media as you guys are, but that doesn't mean that we are not making any effort. Secondly, We are discussing all this Russian oil and this and that, but we are not discussing the root cause of the problem. You mentioned just now, and you mentioned very rightly, when Prime Minister Modi came to United States, what kind of welcome was given to Prime Minister Modi by the same Trump administration? When President Trump went to India, what kind of reception President Donald Trump got from Modi government in Ahmedabad? So there was a time, there was a very, not only on a offshore relationship, but
Okay, sorry to interrupt you there. Just getting a live shot. That's a live shot coming in. A live shot. That's Prime Minister Modi embarking for Japan. Abhishek, can you tell our viewers a little bit about the Prime Minister's schedule in Japan so that we'll go back to the debate. This is a live shot coming in of him at the airport.
Yeah, so Prime Minister has emplaned he should be wheels up shortly, or perhaps already is. He's on a two-nation visit. He's flying down to Tokyo first for the India-Japan annual summit and spends about 36 hours there. And then he flies out to Tianjin in China. And that's because he has to participate in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, the Leaders Summit. That's on the invitation of President Xi Jinping. And that's Prime Minister Modi's first visit to China since 2018. And that really gives you something about how the realignments are really shaping up on that. If I could go to...
Abhishek, before that, just before you can go to Ainar, I just want to give in there's a statement of the Prime Minister that's come in.
Yes.
Statement of the Prime Minister just before he embarks on this visit. He's spoken about Xi Jinping and China. You can take that question to Ainar. He has said in his statement that is just released, during my visit, we would focus on shaping the next phase in the special strategic global partnership, which has made steady progress. And he says from Japan, he will go to China to attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tianjin at the invitation of President Xi Jinping. India is an active, constructive member of SCO. During our presidency, we have introduced new ideas, initiated collaboration in the fields of innovation, health, cultural exchanges. India remains committed to working with the SCO members to address shared challenges, deepen regional cooperation. I also look forward to meeting President Xi Jinping, President Putin.
Yeah, absolutely. And those optics, Ainar, Prime Minister Modi, President Xi Jinping, and President Putin meeting there in Tianjin. I mean, diplomacy is a lot about optics. What do you think of those optics coming in 2 days from now?
Well, I think you have to keep in mind that all but less than 10 countries are going to be represented at this event. That shows solidarity. The ones that aren't showing up are basically the G7. So contrast that with the United States, which in the United Nations is facing these votes where it's Israel and the United States versus the entire world. I don't think that it's useful. I appreciate Greg's point of view, but I don't think it's useful to try to defend something that's so hypocritical. You rightly pointed out that the United States has increased its trade with Russia by 23% and is now taking it out on India.
Yeah.
For no apparent reason. I don't believe this thing that somehow Donald Trump feels slighted. I think he really is going after India because it's a powerful member and a potential leader of the BRICS. And if the BRICS comes to Washington and uses its combined might, Donald Trump will have to do his signature taco.
Yeah, there is also a picture that we have. I wanted to show that picture. That's the picture. When you spoke about optics, Abhishek, you have Prime Minister Modi, Vladimir Putin, and Xi Jinping. And then you have this picture. Can we take that picture full frame, please, where you can see all of them, obviously irritated with what is going on and the kind of treatment that they've got. Can you go full frame to that picture for a minute? Look at that. That's it. Those are the folks who are not going to be at the SCO, of course, because they don't belong to that blocking. But this is the optics. This is what happened last week. Look at their pictures, look at the picture and the faces, the response of these world leaders, and contrast that to what you are going to see in China, in Tianjin, at the SCO. Prime Minister Modi, Putin, Xi Jinping together. Michael Kugelman is joining us live. He is a fellow Asia Pacific Foundation, joining us live from Washington, D.C. And he's been speaking about this issue. He has very strong views on this. Michael, going back to Michael, getting him on the show live. Michael, it's getting worse. At least the name calling is getting worse. But how are you looking at it?
Well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this is what it's become, name calling. It's not just criticism and press tactics. It's gotten much more raw than that, and it really is unfortunate. It's unclear how much lower things can go, in the sense that the relationship is now at, I think, its worst point over the last 20 years of strategic partnership. This question of why is this happening? I think that there are various reasons. One of them is that the president is not. He really expected India to give in to all of his demands in the trade talks, and many countries did that. Many countries that wanted deals with him gave in. Now, India did make a lot of concessions early on in the talks, but then it drew the line toward the end, which one could understand from an Indian perspective. So I think this is a case of Trump not having gotten what he wants and acting out, so to speak. And that helps explain why India is getting singled out for this special treatment when it comes to the issue of its arms imports from Russia. Its oil imports from Russia. China imports more than India does these days. So, there's that. But I think the more important to pose at this point is, where do things go from here, right? It can't get much worse, but what to look at to hope that things could get better. There, we need to look at the possibility. Could these two leaders have an opportunity to meet in New York next month during the UNGA meetings? It's unclear, I think, at this point, if both leaders will be there, and even if they are there, would they want to meet with each other? I hope, for the sake of the relationship, that they would be prepared to do that. But that's one thing that I'll be watching for moving forward.
Michael.
Okay, Abhishek has a follow-up for you, Michael. But before you ask your follow-up question, I really wanted to bring this in at this point, because I wanted to mention this to Greg, but since Michael is there, you can take it forward.
You can take it to Greg, and then I can go to Michael.
You can take it to Michael, because I really wanted to bring it at this point. European Union has spent more on Russian oil and gas than what they've actually done to help Ukraine in the war. And we have those figures.
Right.
They've bought $22 billion euros of fossil fuels from Russia in 2024.
Bring it on, Greg.
But they've only given 19 million euros.
Greg,
and they want to lecture us.
I'm agreeing with that. It's something that.
So
really
would you typically, Greg, then call these people hypocrites for questioning India?
The president challenged the Europeans on that. That's one of the reasons they committed to buying $750 billion.
But he's supporting Viktor
LNG
Orban.
from America.
But he's supporting Viktor Orban on the issue of that Druzhba pipeline that was sabotaged by the Ukrainians recently, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same reason that President Trump put
You're tying
sanctions
yourself
on
into
Nord Stream
knots,
2.
Greg. Do you realize you're really tying yourself into knots?
No, not at all.
Or maybe
It's
because
pretty
Trump is
consistent.
doing that, so everyone supporting Trump has to invariably do that. But my question is, Michael, you also are a Pakistan hand, and you mentioned about the possibility of President Trump and Prime Minister Modi meeting at the UNGA. I doubt it, but still, how much do you think, Michael, this thrust that has come between India and the United States has to do with President Trump's ceasefire claims and his absolute desire to get the Nobel Peace Prize for that?
Well, yeah, I think that's a part of the problem. I think you look at all the different places, for explanations for why things went downhill. I mean, the fact that the president has repeatedly been making that statement about his role, in a context where it's very sensitive for India when it comes to the issue of third-party mediation. But I think it could go beyond that. I think it really gets to the fact that the U.S. has really strengthened ties with Pakistan in a big way, and so soon after the conflict with Pakistan. And I think that India has accepted the fact that the U.S. is going to have a relationship with Pakistan, a workable relationship with the military, and I think that has not hurt U.S.-India relations in the past. But now it is something that's a problem for the U.S.-India relationship, just because, again, you're seeing such changes in the relationship so quickly. And when you invite the army chief to the White House, that I think was the final straw. So again, a lot of reasons for why things have gone wrong, but I do think the Pakistan factor is something. And to contrast the two, India, of course, has said that Trump did not play a role in the ceasefire, whereas Pakistan has nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize for that very role. This is a president who does enjoy being flattered. So, I think that that difference right there is very significant. But I don't want to overstate the Pakistan issue. There's so many other issues that have brought the relationship to this bad point that it's at now.
Now, can I ask quickly, get an Ambassador Deepak Vora for the Indian perspective? Because, there is this report that came in today, Ambassador Vora, and you would have seen that report. This is an Ernst & Young report. Maybe, I don't know, I just get a sense that maybe that has something to do with why Donald Trump is extremely irritated with India, and perhaps he's trying to sort of, stall our progress somewhere. And this Ernst & Young report that came in, right? This Ernst & Young report has said India may emerge as the second largest economy by 2038. That's 13 years from now. It says our GDP in PPP terms could go up to $34.2 trillion, right? 20 trillion by 2030 in 5 years from now. This is by purchasing power parity, and may emerge as second largest by 2038 with 34.2 trillion GDP. Now, do you get a sense that that has something to do with the way Donald Trump is responding? With the slowdown, right, of course, in America.
Yeah, of course. First, to my colleague from the United States, I've served there, I've lived there. I know the diaspora is doing what they can. We don't tom-tom the stuff. We don't do megaphone diplomacy. That's not part of our system. We don't scream from the rooftops. We do it very quietly. And that's probably far more effective. That's what I've been trained in for 52 years. I'm 74 years young now. Second issue that you've raised is the Ernst & Young reports. I've seen many, many reports. I've seen reports about India become 50 trillion, 60 trillion, 20 trillion, 2 trillion. It depends on who's writing the report. As an economist, I don't set much store by that. But yes, the rise of India and its global acceptability, particularly amongst the global south, that's riling some people, particularly those who would like to believe they are masters of the universe. They are not. Now, there are many people rising to challenge that. I was intrigued to see that Venezuela has mobilized its navy to clobber the American navy if it decides to intervene in that area. The Venezuelans have got 2.5 tugboats. I've been there. The capacity for defiance far exceeds the capacity of any one country for coercion. Even the smaller fellows are saying, come on, bring it on. We'll deal with you. It's exactly what the Chinese and the Philippines are going through at this point of time, with due respect to our colleague from China. The Philippines, one thought, was little fellows, little bit Swiss. But here they are turning around saying, come on, let's have it out. So my own feeling, sir, is that what we are seeing right now with the different images of India, all very positive. It's just the present administration in the White House, the president in the United States, committed to making America making America great again. I beg your pardon, not making America alone again, but making America great again. So I'm quite sure that they're unhappy, and unhappy that India, China, and Russia are coming together economically. Yeah. We don't trust these fellows. Yeah. But this is the kind of thing that we are seeing, and that probably upsets them a little bit. It's not the way the world is ordered. Finally, sir, since the Second World War, America has been used to being number one. Don't forget that, sir. Even their international dialing code is 1. And they wouldn't like to be number 2 to anybody, least of all to a chap called Vladimir Putin. So we are going to see a lot of interesting stuff in the next few days. Exciting times lie ahead. Yeah. I'm glad I'm still here.
I want to take this to Alexander, because you mentioned, Ambassador Vora, you mentioned smaller countries, right? You meant Venezuela, Philippines. Now, here's the thing. Today, there have been 2 developments. Let me give you that breaking news update as well. Breaking news update number 1, Alexander Shajan is also joining us. Alexander is a GOP grassroots strategist. He's a Republican, also joining us live from Atlanta. Okay, so you know what Japan has done. Breaking news update number 1, Japan has also decided not to go to the negotiating table. Now, I had a breaking news update that came in.
They're not sending a team, right?
Yeah, they're not sending a team. Japan's trade negotiator has cancelled the US visit. Somebody just took off for Japan, right? Just took off from Delhi for Japan. All right. Okay, now the second bit of breaking news update is Australian government, and I'm guessing Australia is an ally of America. Australian minister today, right now, a few minutes back, has said, we don't support the tariffs. We don't support the tariffs. And he has also said that we want open trade and we want to diversify. Australian government has said, we want to diversify, a straight message to America. Alexander, it's not going well. Is this the view across the Republican Party? Because I don't think so. I'm sure many of them disagree with the route that Trump has taken.
Well, let me break something for you, okay? The European Commission proposed on Thursday removing tariffs on imported U.S. industrial goods, part of a trade agreement with the United States that should result in retroactive cuts to the U.S. tariffs on European cars. That's my answer for that question. That's a breaking. I'll just end there. To Ambassador Vora, please visit Atlanta also when you come next time. I will host you. I would love to have you in my house. I will take you around. Nothing is going to happen to your visa, okay? Thank you so much. So please visit us.
Yeah.
To my friend Abhishek Kapoorji, it is great meeting you after a few weeks, even though we talk over phone once in a while. Do you remember that November 5th night that I was going to gift you a MAGA hat? Do you remember that? Because we all were excited. We all were excited that President Trump won.
We've cancelled the postal service, by the way. We've cancelled the postal service.
You can't, unfortunately, send that mega hat now.
Yeah, you can't send it now. We've cancelled the postal service. We don't want to do any postal service with America.
I saw that, but the thing is, we all were excited,
That almost seems like a different era, Alexander. But I want to come to serious stuff. You see,
it's going to change, brother. No. My friend Abhishek, this is going to change. That's what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said.
That was my next question, Alexander. Please tell us, is it going to change when the midterms come and when Trump himself is going to be under pressure from those Republicans who are going to contest that you cannot have a hostile Indian-American community voting Democrats?
It won't go that long, okay? Let me quote, before we were talking about what Scott Bessent was saying. Scott Bessent, what did he say? He said, there is a conflict. There is a strain. We all agree with that. There is something has happened that should have never happened, okay? Am I upset with that? Yes, I am upset with that. But let me tell you, why do we even have this discussion? Because both parties, we all are interested in having a proper conclusion for this issue. We all need a solution. Why? India and US relationship should last forever. This relationship started not for 1 or 2 years. We want this relationship to go forever, and that will happen. I can guarantee you, I have no doubt this will resolve. We heard before that.
Who would do that? I mean, it's not going to be a relationship that lasts forever if what we are getting is daily hectoring, what we are getting is daily talking down, what we are getting is daily name calling, what we are getting is dog whistling, what we are getting is absolutely unethical equivalence being brought in between India and Pakistan just because President Trump wants a Nobel. I mean, slap tariffs on Norway and get the bloody Nobel. I mean, why create so much havoc with the rest of the world, for God's sake?
I feel that frustration. All over India. I'm glad to see that India is united. I'm so happy.
Let me at this point, I want to bring in Michael. I want to go back to Michael and Einar as well. One minute.
You didn't let me
I'll tell you something.
No, you didn't let me finish.
I didn't imagine. Let me tell you something, Shazad. I never imagined, and for the last 7 to 8 years, every time Einar Tangen has come on Republic TV, it's gone badly. It's almost like it's like a Galwan kind of situation where we are at loggerheads with China. But let me tell you, something happened around Galwan and post-Doklam. We boycotted Chinese goods, right? It's a different thing that we are resetting ties now, but we did decide to boycott Chinese goods. It was China's loss. 1.5 billion Indians. That's a big market, even for Americans. Please don't try us. It's your loss. Let me tell you one thing. It is going to be your loss. Michael, does it have anything to do?
Finish.
One minute.
You have to give me.
I'll come back to you. Michael, on there are reports that Trump tried to reach out to Modi at least 4 times, the Indian Prime Minister, in the last few days. I don't know, a few German media reports.
That's a German newspaper.
German newspaper and a Japanese media report has also cited that.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
One minute, one sec. Calm down. It's okay, man. Calm down. It's not us saying it. Yeah. What do you know about these reports, Michael? Anything that you've been able to pick up?
No, I mean, here, yes, these are just reports. I mean, I have not heard any rejection of these reports. Correct me if I'm wrong, which is significant. But, I mean, the idea that Trump would want to call Prime Minister Modi 4 times, and after he doesn't get a response the second time, call a third and a fourth time, it seems a bit hard to believe. But, I will say this. I mean, President Trump, in my view, genuinely wants to have a good relationship with India, much like his entire administration does. I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. Of course, the messaging coming from the administration doesn't suggest that. But, the first Trump administration relations with India were pretty good. I mean, there were some tough moments, there were some tensions over trade and other issues, but they were pretty good. So, I think that at the end of the day, the administration wants to make it work. But what I fear is the case is that in Washington, there's not enough recognition of how much trust has been squandered in New Delhi. I think that there's not enough of a recognition of just how badly the Indian side has reacted to what has come from the U.S. side. And whether it's a matter of not realizing or not caring, I don't know. But that is going to be difficult to get past, right? I mean, the relationship could improve. It's going to take time. But I think there's going to first need to be a reckoning and an acknowledgement from the U.S. side.
Michael, India has not reacted badly, really. I mean, the conversation that we are having on this broadcast is a heated conversation between two very strong, vibrant democracies. And both of us understand that language and that tonality. Whatever irresponsibility has come in, unfortunately, has come in from the Trump team. But having said that, let me take this to Einar. Einar,
coming to you, Mr.
It's good that we are having this conversation. Is it essentially United States? It's not just about Trump. It's United States as 21st century's foremost power, which is on decline. Essentially renegotiating its terms of disengagement with the rest of the world. There is an element of nervousness at rising China. And so United States first thought that they could leverage India against China. Having failed, they are frustrated, and they believe that we are being good friends with Russia also. And that is the reason why you are seeing this expression of frustration, essentially, which is in some ways internal also.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are the kind of, wild moves of a hegemon that is fading. There's no other way to really put it. As I said before on the show, the greatest gift that the United States has given China since WTO, that wasn't a gift, a negotiation, is Donald Trump. No one could have imagined that at this point, Donald Trump would have alienated everybody, including a bunch of confused penguins who are sitting on an island figuring out how they're going to pay off tariffs. I mean, it was just inconceivable. And right now, not through anything that China has done, except what it sees as its consistent patterns with Belt and Road and other projects it's doing, it is benefiting from the fact that the U.S. is alienating everybody else. I'm fascinated. I was in politics in the United States. I worked on presidential re-election campaigns, local campaigns. I held offices. To hear these apologists talking about, Trump's spitting on you, but you should just think of it as warm rain. I mean, it's nonsense. The hypocrisy is there. There's absolutely no justification. They just say it'll all work out. You should just take everything in stride. I cannot believe it. If the situation was reversed and people were saying to Donald Trump what he says to others, he would be going ballistic. He would be saying, put 200% tariffs on them. Call out the army. Let's do something nasty to them.
Yeah, and if you Anand Ahuja was putting his hand up. Japan, Australia, both have counteracted.
Denmark, they've issued debarks. There's some of
my question was to him on Quad.
And Denmark
the Quad is staring Trump back. There is no Quad. I mean, Japan, Australia, India,
that's Quad.
Staring back, that's Quad. I mean, the Quad is upset. I mean, what has Trump done? Anand Ahuja,
Yes, actually, I 100% agree with Michael when he raised the point of trust. Right now, what I see is the only issue here is trust deficit. India right now does not trust United States, and somehow United States does not trust India on two accounts. Number one, United States somehow feels that India in the matter of trade does not play by the rules. Number two,
what is the rules?
Geopolitical. Let me complete, please. Let me complete. I've been listening to all you guys patiently. Give me 1 minute to complete
Short
my
counter,
sentence.
sir. I just asked you what is the rule. You said we're not playing by the rules. Just want to know what the rules are.
Let me explain you that.
Yeah.
What about India's giving export subsidies to its exporters? Is it playing by rules? Does WTO allow you to do that?
No.
Hold on. So let me complete the second in the area of geopolitical arena, somehow United States believes that right now India cannot be trusted. The only value in
Sir, we can't trust you. I'm sorry, but I don't know. But Anand Ahuja, I'm sorry. I'll have to cut you there. I'm sorry. This is India can't be trusted. You're hugging Asim Munir, who's by the way not even the head of a, he's not even the Prime Minister of Pakistan. And we have deals. We are in bed with. You have a deal with crypto companies in Pakistan. Please stop the lecture, sir. Mr. Ahuja, please. We don't want to be lectured. We don't want to be lectured only because I'm short of time. Ambassador Vora, Einar, Maxim, Michael, Greg, Alexander Ahuja. We'll come back. It's going to be a long weekend.
Ending this conversation.
Long weekend, Mr. Ahuja. Long weekend. Smile. It's a Thursday evening. We have a long weekend ahead, okay? We have a long weekend ahead. Take a break today and tomorrow. We're going to be live through the weekend.
What kind of debate it is when you don't...
It's a fantastic debate. Fantastic debate. Everyone's had fun. Everyone's smiling. We'll see you again. Thank you very much. Good night and goodbye.
You just want to hear what you want to hear.
Good night and goodbye, sir. Only because I've run out of time there, Abhishek. Fun debate. He thought it was not that great. But
it will continue. It's not ending.
Yeah, it's not ending.
The trade war is not ending, and we'll keep coming back to the debate. Thanks for watching, friends.
Okay, so big weekend. Prime Minister's taken off for Japan. We will be live from China. Shawan is live from Tianjin. It's the Modi-Xi Super Summit. Stay tuned for the biggest coverage, like always, on Republic.
Thanks for watching.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।